ExamPrep.School. FLA Public All Lines. Insurance Adjuster Exam, exam code InsFL-PubAdj20. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Florida laws and regulations. Pertinent to public adjusters. General property insurance product knowledge. Motor vehicle physical damage and mechanical breakdown. Property insurance policies. Residual markets. Selected Florida statutes and rules. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Under Florida contract law as applied to property and casualty insurance, which action by the insurer constitutes acceptance of the applicant's offer? A. Countersigning and returning the completed application to the applicant. B. Issuing a binder or insurance policy that corresponds to the terms requested in the application. C. Receiving the applicant's initial premium payment. D. Delivering a receipt acknowledging the submitted application. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is issuance of a binder or policy reflecting the applied for terms, as acceptance occurs when the insurer formally binds coverage matching the applicant's offer. Reason A is not correct. Countersigning and returning the application alone does not bind coverage. A formal binder or policy document is required. Reason C is not correct. Receipt of premium payment is part of consideration, but does not by itself establish acceptance without formal binding. Reason D is not correct. Providing a receipt acknowledges submission but does not legally accept the offer or bind coverage. Question 2. In Florida property and casualty insurance contracts, what constitutes the required consideration to form a valid agreement? A. The insured's payment of the agreed premium and the insurer's promise to indemnify for covered losses. B. The insured's submission of a signed application to the insurer. C. The insurer's appointment of a licensed agent on behalf of the insured. D. The insured's obligation to comply with loss mitigation provisions in the policy. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is the insured's premium payment coupled with the insurer's promise to indemnify, which together serve as the mutual consideration necessary for a valid insurance contract. Reason B is not correct. A signed application constitutes the offer but does not itself serve as consideration. Reason C is not correct. Agent appointment pertains to agency authority but is unrelated to contract consideration. Reason D is not correct. Obligations such as loss mitigation are contractual duties but do not constitute consideration. Question 3. A 17-year-old minor applies for a homeowner's insurance policy without parental consent, and the insurer issues coverage based on the application. Upon suffering a covered loss, the minor seeks to void the policy. Under the competent parties doctrine for policy enforceability, how is this contract treated if challenged by the minor? A. The policy is binding because the insurer issued coverage and performed under the contract. B. The policy is voidable at the minor's election due to lack of legal capacity. C. The policy is void as a matter of law because minors cannot enter into contracts. D. The policy remains enforceable until a court issues a formal rescission on behalf of the minor. The correct answer is B. The competent parties doctrine holds that a contract is voidable when one party lacks capacity. Since a minor lacks legal capacity, the contract is voidable at the minor's election rather than automatically void or permanently enforceable. Reason A is not correct. An insurer's issuance and performance does not cure the underlying incapacity of a minor contracting party. Reason C is not correct. Contracts with minors are not automatically void but are instead voidable at the minor's election. Reason D is not correct. a minor can disaffirm a contract without court intervention, so formal rescission is not required. Question 4. A homeowner insures a property without disclosing that it houses an unlicensed distillery. After a fire loss, the insurer denies coverage as the building was used for illegal purposes. Under the legal purpose doctrine in property insurance contracts, is the denial valid? A. Yes, because the building's use was illegal at the time the policy was issued. B. No, because issuing the policy without investigating the use amounts to waiver of that defense. C. Yes, since any contract covering illegal activity is void ab initio. D. No, because illegal use occurring after policy inception does not invalidate coverage. The correct answer is B. While contracts must have a lawful purpose, the insurer's failure to investigate and subsequent issuance of coverage constitutes waiver of the defense based on illegal use. Reason A is not correct. An insurer's knowledge or lack thereof can lead to waiver when coverage is issued despite potential unlawful use. Reason C is not correct. Although illegal activity would make a contract unenforceable, waiver arises when the insurer issues the policy without objection. Reason D is not correct. The illegality existed at inception, not solely afterward, and waiver prevents reliance on that defense. Question 5. An applicant fails to disclose a previous mold-related property claim on a homeowner's insurance application. After a new mold loss, the insurer rescinds the policy, citing material non-disclosure. Under the most good faith principle, which rationale best supports the insurer's action? A. Both parties must act honestly and disclose all material facts, and non-disclosure breach that duty. B. The insurer's superior position obligates it to independently verify all past claims. C. Strict liability applies to insurers for latent defects regardless of disclosure. D. The insurer is required to mitigate losses before exercising the right to rescind. The correct answer is A. The utmost good faith principle requires both parties to act honestly and to disclose material information. The insured's failure to disclose a material prior claim breached that duty, justifying rescission. Reason B is not correct. While insurers have investigative duties, the principle focuses on mutual disclosure, not insurer verification. Reason C is not correct. Utmost good faith does not impose strict liability on insurers for undisclosed latent defects. Reason D is not correct. Mitigation requirements do not override the duty to disclose material information before contract formation. Question 6. A commercial property policy drafted entirely by the insurer contains an ambiguous water damage exclusion clause. The insured requested clarification before binding coverage, but the insurer refused. In a later coverage dispute, how will a court interpreting the clause apply the characteristic of adhesion? A. Ambiguities are construed to favor limiting the insurer's liability. B. Ambiguity is interpreted against the insurer and in favor of the insured. C. The plain meaning rule will uphold the insurer's drafted language without adjustment. D. The ambiguous provision is struck from the contract as unconscionable. The correct answer is B. Insurance policies are contracts of adhesion. Any ambiguous wording drafted by the insurer is interpreted against the drafter and in favor of the insured. Reason A is not correct. Adhesion favors the insured, not further limiting the insurer's obligations. Reason C is not correct. Courts will not blindly apply plain meaning when ambiguity exists in adhesion contracts. Reason D is not correct. Striking provisions as unconscionable requires a higher threshold than simple ambiguity in adhesion contexts. Question 7. Which action most aligns with prevailing best practices for documenting the initial notice of loss in a property insurance claim file? A. Recording the policyholder's address but deferring assignment of a claim number until receipt of a signed proof of loss. B. Scheduling an on-site inspection within 24 hours irrespective of loss severity classification. C. Waiting for the policyholder to submit photographic evidence before logging loss details. D. Noting the date and time the loss was reported, identifying the reporting party, describing the loss circumstances, and assigning a unique claim file number. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is to record the date or time of notice, reporting party, loss details, and assign a claim number immediately because this ensures accurate, contemporaneous documentation and supports efficient triage and reserving. Reason A is not correct. Deferring claim number assignment until proof of loss receipt delays critical file creation and tracking. Reason B is not correct. Inspecting without loss classification may misallocate resources and is not part of initial recording best practices. Reason C is not correct. Requiring photographic evidence before any logging postpones essential initial documentation. Question 8. Which of the following practices best exemplifies contemporaneous documentation standards in a property insurance claim file? A. Documenting telephone call details 2 days after the call to ensure complete information. B. Using shorthand abbreviations for routine communications without clarifying in a glossary. C. Consolidating daily claim activities into a weekly summary note for efficiency. D. Recording each claim-related contact promptly with date, time, subject matter, and employee initials. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is to record every claim contact promptly with date, time, subject matter, and initials, because contemporaneous entries enhance auditability and uphold regulatory compliance. Reason A is not correct. Delaying documentation undermines contemporaneous record requirements and risks memory errors. Reason B is not correct. Unexplained shorthand can hinder clarity and auditability without a defined glossary. Reason C is not correct. Weekly summaries sacrifice the immediacy and detail required for contemporaneous notes. Question 9. A homeowner submits a statement of loss after a fire. The public adjuster's review reveals that certain items are missing from the form. Before requesting additional information from the insured, which action should the adjuster take first? A. Ask the insured to provide detailed repair estimates for the missing items. B. Confirm that the policy's declaration page lists the damaged property type. C. Review the policy's insuring agreement and coverage conditions. D. Immediately schedule an inspection meeting with a contractor. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is to review the insuring agreement to determine coverage terms before pursuing missing data. It sets the scope for what can be included in the statement of loss and guides subsequent requests. Reason A is not correct. Requesting estimates before verifying coverage may burden the insured with irrelevant information. Reason B is not correct. Checking the declarations page alone is less comprehensive than reviewing the full coverage terms. Reason D is not correct. Scheduling an inspection before verifying policy terms could lead to assessments for uncovered items. Question 10. In negotiating with a property owner after a kitchen flood, partly caused by the owner's delayed maintenance, which approach best reflects comparative negligence principles? A. Assign full liability to the insurer since flooding is covered under the policy. B. Propose a 50 divided by 50 cost split without requiring supporting evidence. C. Evaluate evidence of the owner's maintenance delay and allocate loss proportionally. D. Deny coverage due to the owner's maintenance neglect. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is to assess evidence of negligence and allocate loss proportionally based on causation. This reflects comparative negligence rules requiring proportional liability. Reason A is not correct. Ignoring the owner's negligence undermines the principle of proportional liability. Reason B is not correct. An arbitrary split without evidence lacks a legal foundation. Reason D is not correct. Maintenance neglect alone does not justify complete denial under comparative negligence. Question 11. An insurer suspects potential coverage exclusions for mold damage but needs to investigate further. What key element must a reservation of rights letter include to protect the insurer's interests? A. A statement that coverage is fully granted while the investigation proceeds. B. A detailed denial of all claims related to mold damage. C. A clear statement that rights under the policy are reserved for potential coverage defenses. D. An unconditional waiver of any policy exclusions. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is including a clear reservation of rights statement. So the insurer retains coverage defenses while the investigation is ongoing. Reason A is not correct. Implying full grant could inadvertently waive coverage defenses. Reason B is not correct. Denying claim prior to investigation risks engaging in unfair claim practices. Reason D is not correct. Waiving exclusions removes the insurer's ability to rely on policy provisions. Question 12. During a windstorm claim inspection, which photo documentation practice most effectively supports damage assessment? A. Taking only close-up photos of damaged areas without showing context. B. Photographing every household item regardless of damage. C. Capturing wide-angle views first, then focused close-ups with a reference scale and date stamps. D. Using handheld sketches instead of photos to document damage. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is to capture wide-angle and close-up photos with scale and timestamps to provide comprehensive, verifiable evidence of damage. Reason A is not correct. Photos without context fail to show the extent and scope of damage. Reason B is not correct. Documenting undamaged items clutters the claim record and reduces focus on actual loss. Reason D is not correct. Sketches lack objective detail and may be inadmissible as evidence. Question 13. Which of the following best describes a primary duty of a company staff adjuster? A. Conducting independent site inspections during catastrophic events in remote regions. B. Negotiating claim settlements in accordance with insurer guidelines. C. Marketing new insurance products to prospective clients. D. Drafting policy forms for state regulatory submission. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is negotiating claim settlements in accordance with insurer guidelines, which is a core responsibility of a company staff adjuster as part of the insurer's claims handling process. Reason A is not correct. Company staff adjusters are typically office-based and do not handle remote surge inspections, which are performed by independent adjusters. Reason C is not correct. Marketing functions are the domain of sales and underwriting departments, not claims adjusters. Reason D is not correct. Drafting policy forms for regulatory approval is performed by compliance and underwriting teams, not by claims adjusters. Question 14. During a surge event, which of the following is a typical responsibility of an independent adjuster? A. Conducting preliminary on-site damage inspections and promptly forwarding reports to the insurer. B. Revising policy language to expand coverage for catastrophe-related losses. C. Underwriting new flood insurance policies for affected homeowners. D. Establishing reinsurance treaties for large-scale catastrophe exposure. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is conducting preliminary on-site damage inspections and promptly forwarding reports to the insurer, which aligns with the core assignment duties of independent adjusters during surge events. Reason B is not correct. Policy revision and coverage expansion are functions of underwriting and legal departments, not adjusters. Reason C is not correct. Underwriting new policies is outside the claims process and not part of an adjuster's duties. Reason D is not correct. Reinsurance treaty arrangements are handled by the insurer's risk management and reinsurance units, not independent adjusters. Question 15. After a major storm, a homeowner signs a contract with a public adjuster who offers four fee options: a 12% fee on total claim recovery, a $150 per hour rate plus expenses, a flat $5,000 charge, or a sliding scale contingency fee of 8% on the first $50,000 recovered and 12% on any amount above. Given the homeowner anticipates significant policy underpayments and hopes the adjuster will be incentivized to maximize recovery, which fee structure best aligns the adjuster's interest with the homeowner's goal? A. A sliding scale fee of 8% on the first $50,000 and 12% thereafter. B. A $150 per hour rate plus reimbursable expenses. C. A flat $5,000 fixed charge. D. A 12% fee on total claim recoveries. The correct answer is D. The correct fee arrangement is a consistent percentage of total claim recovery because it directly ties the adjuster's compensation to every dollar recovered, ensuring continuous incentive to maximize settlement across all loss components. Reason A is not correct. A sliding scale fee reduces the incentive for maximizing smaller claim amounts due to the lower fee applied to the initial portion. Reason B is not correct. An hourly rate plus expenses does not motivate the adjuster to secure higher settlements beyond billed hours and reimbursable costs. Reason C is not correct. A flat fee fails to incentivize additional effort for larger recoveries since compensation remains unchanged regardless of outcome. Question 16. A field adjuster employed by an insurance carrier has authority to approve property loss settlements up to $75,000. The branch claims manager can authorize up to $200,000 and the regional director up to $1 million. A policyholder files a $350,000 claim for wind damage. According to the carrier's authority hierarchy, to whom must the field adjuster escalate the claim for settlement approval? A. Branch claims manager. B. Claims vice president. C. Regional director. D. Corporate underwriting department. The correct answer is C. The correct escalation is to the regional director because the claim amount exceeds both the field adjuster's $75,000 limit and the branch manager's $200,000 limit, but is within the regional director's $1 million authority. Reason A is not correct. The branch claims manager's $200,000 limit is insufficient to approve a $350,000 settlement. Reason B is not correct. Claims vice president approval is not required when the regional director has adequate authority. Reason D is not correct. Underwriting does not have settlement authority under the claims hierarchy for property losses. Question 17. A staff adjuster is assigned to evaluate a large commercial fire loss for a restaurant. The adjuster's sibling holds a 20% ownership stake in the restaurant and stands to benefit financially from the settlement. According to conflict of interest rules for staff adjusters, which action must the adjuster take before proceeding with the assignment? A. Recuse and refer the claim to another adjuster. B. Disclose the relationship and continue handling the claim. C. Obtain a written waiver from the insurer. D. Proceed but reduce the fee by 20%. The correct answer is A. The adjuster must recuse and refer the claim because a direct familial interest in the insured creates an impermissible conflict under staff adjuster regulations. Reason B is not correct. Disclosure alone does not eliminate the conflict created by a close family member's ownership interest. Reason C is not correct. A waiver from the insured cannot override regulatory restrictions on conflicts of interest. Reason D is not correct. Adjusting the fee does not address or remove the inherent conflict of interest. Question 18. Which of the following is a characteristic of a stock insurer? A. Owned by shareholders who elect the board of directors. B. Owned by policyholders who receive dividends from surplus. C. Operate as a nonprofit cooperative for policyholders. D. Issue participating policies, sharing profits with policyholders. The correct answer is A. The correct answer identifies a stock insurer's ownership structure. It is owned by shareholders who elect the board of directors and generally issues non-participating policies. Stock insurers raise capital by selling stock and focus on shareholder returns. Reason B is not correct. This option is wrong because that describes a mutual insurer's structure, where policyholders receive dividends from surplus. Reason C is not correct. This option is wrong because stock insurers operate as for-profit corporations, not cooperatives. Reason D is not correct. This option is wrong because stock insurers generally issue non-participating, not participating policies. Question 19. Which statement best describes policyholder dividends paid by a mutual insurer? A. Return of excess premium to policyholders when loss experience is favorable. B. Guaranteed to equal a set percentage of premium under state law. C. Distributed to shareholders according to surplus contributions. D. Required to be paid whenever a policyholder has no claims. The correct answer is A. The correct answer accurately describes policyholder dividends as a return of excess premium when the insurer's loss and expense experience is favorable. Dividends are not guaranteed and represent surplus distribution rather than additional coverage benefits. Reason B is not correct. This option is wrong because dividends from mutual insurers are not guaranteed by law at a fixed percentage. They depend on actual financial performance. Reason C is not correct. This option is wrong because mutual insurers have no shareholders. Dividends are paid to policyholders, not shareholders. Reason D is not correct. This option is wrong because dividends are not required merely due to no claims. They depend on overall surplus and performance. Question 20. A public adjuster is reviewing a Florida reciprocal insurer arrangement in which an attorney-in-fact is appointed. Under Florida law, which of the following is a primary duty of the attorney-in-fact for a reciprocal insurer? A. Invest surplus funds on behalf of all subscribers. B. Establish reserve levels without subscriber input. C. Adjust claims independently of subscriber approval. D. Issue and countersign insurance policies for the reciprocal. The correct answer is D. The attorney-in-fact is empowered to issue and countersign policies on behalf of the reciprocal insurer, handling contract execution rather than investment or claims adjustment decisions. Reason A is not correct. Investing surplus funds is typically a decision of the subscribers collectively, not the attorney-in-effect alone. Reason B is not correct. Reserve level determinations require subscriber approval and supervisory oversight rather than unilateral action. Reason C is not correct. Claims adjustment authority remains with the subscribers or their designated adjusters, not directly with the attorney-in-fact. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.